Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Since WWE is overseas, we're doing this review in the afternoon. That's why it's somewhat bright. But welcome to another edition of The Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and this is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Thank you guys so much for joining, and let's talk about today's episode of Monday Night Raw from Dublin, Ireland, which, by the way, is a lot of Irish wrestlers that are still active. Three of them I can think of. Lyra Valkyria, who was a bit discouraged until Bailey cheered her up tonight. Then we have Becky Lynch, two-fourths of the horsewomen of WWE before Rousey and Shayna did their own thing. Of course, Becky Lynch had a match with Maxine Dupree for the Intercontinental Championship, and I thought Becky was going to get an insane pop, but from what I heard, there must be some unseen footage of Becky Lynch saying some rather mean things about her home country that was not aired on the live version of Netflix, which is why the fans booed her. And I was wondering if she was going to do that because it's heel move one on one to push your fans away when they cheer you, even when you're the good person, even when you're the villain, but you're in your hometown, you're usually it's heel move one on one to push the fans away. Drew McIntyre did it this past Friday. Of course, the only person I know of that wouldn't push their home away is MJF, who is AEW's world champion right now. Of course, the match with Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch kind of went as expected to me because I was expecting Natalya to turn on Maxine and start a rivalry with her. And we could be seeing the most dangerous version of Natalya as Natty Neidhart might be in the making for WWE. I don't know. And I think Natalya is at a place where she wants to go out with a few victories, kind of like John Cena did. Although John Cena was a bit on a losing streak for a couple of years, even though he was part time. Natalya wants to get some work done in a good way and end on a good note with a couple of wins under her belt. I don't know what's going to happen, but I believe there's a rivalry in the making between those two, and Natty Neidhart might be coming to WWE, which is the persona of Natalya outside of the ring and other promotions. We also would like to send my deepest concerns to Javon Evans. Apparently, Javon Evans hurt himself in a match with one of the masked American men, and that match was discontinued. I hope he's okay. I don't know where Obafemi's going to be, but I got to keep my eyes open on that. Tonight, we saw AJ Styles open up the show, interrupting Gunter as he would challenge for a rematch. After last week, Gunter goes one on one with AJ and takes a page from The Undertaker's playbook. So tonight, AJ Styles wants a rematch for the Royal Rumble. And Gunter says, "I'll do it if you put your career on the line." He talked to everyone, including his wife, who apparently doesn't curse that much. But tonight, AJ's wife says, "Kick his ash." ASH. Of course, I want to give my own personal opinion about this. I'm a little bit nervous about this because Gunter is so strong and fresh and full of momentum. I don't think he's going to lose, but I don't want to see AJ Styles retire this early. But if AJ Styles manages to beat Gunter at the Royal Rumble, I will be the happiest man on earth. But I don't know if that's going to happen considering the momentum that Gunter has. And with him being in the Rumble, Gunter's in the Rumble, Jay's in the Rumble. We heard from the women's side of things that Rio is going to be in the Rumble. By the way, Rio is my favorite women's tag team right now because I think Io Sky and Rhea Ripley are awesome. Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez will also be in the Rumble. But this Saturday, they're going to be fighting in Montreal for the Women's Tag Team Championships, but my money's on Rio. Despite the message sent with the attack of Judgment Day member and assistant Judgment Day member Raquel, but my money's still on Rio this Saturday. However, I really don't know who's going to win this Royal Rumble. Of course, I would advise the women to get lots and lots of cold water because, for modest reasons, everyone is going to be covered up from head to foot at this year's Royal Rumble. The women I'm speaking of. So I would suggest they have a lot of cold water because I heard it gets pretty hot in Saudi Arabia. I don't even know what the weather is right now. Let me see. What is the weather like in Saudi Arabia right now? 1 second, guys, as I do a little bit of research. Okay. Saudi Arabia weather. 55. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. The highest it gets is near the 80s. But right now, it's in the highest weather is in the 60s. So let's hope for the best when they go over there and that it doesn't get too hot. But my prayers will be with them if they have to go over there during the summertime because it is hot as Lucifer's bedroom. But they may be a little bit comfortable this time. But moving forward, I don't know who's going to win. I hope Bianca Belair returns. We already got Jada. Oh, y'all start with a J. We already got Jada Parker making her return to NXT last week. My hope is that Bianca will return to the Royal Rumble. I just don't know who's going to win it. As far as the men winning the Royal Rumble, hopefully LA Knight returns to the Rumble. But I don't know who's going to win the men's version. And with Cody Rhodes being in the Royal Rumble, I think this could be a very stacked Royal Rumble. We have Roman Reigns. Imagine Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and another big names in this year's Royal Rumble. It should be very interesting. In the meantime, our main event tonight, we had CM Punk versus Finn Balor, and for a second I thought the Demon King, which is the alter ego of Finn Balor, was going to come out. But we did get the return of Finn Balor's old theme song, and tonight he was acting as a fan favorite because though technically Judgment Day is a heel faction, Finn Balor, because he was home, decided to embrace the fans and put his heelish attitude to the side just for one night because he was home. Him and MJF are the only ones who may do this. That and heel Bret Hart back in 1997. Well, as far as 1997 is concerned, anywhere but America, Bret Hart was a fan favorite. For those of us who followed WWE back in the late 90s. Moving forward, this was a pretty solid match in my humble opinion. I do understand and I am aware of the fact that we need to make finishing moves be taken a bit seriously, and for the most part it does. But I can give leeway to the fact that CM Punk versus Finn Balor was a good match, and it took 2 GTS in separate timings to get the job done. And so I can give leeway to that because tonight's match was very solid. The crowd was very interested, and I think it was a good match. For a second, I had a feeling that Finn Balor was going to go and do something heelish and be a little bit of a sore loser after CM Punk showed sportsmanship, but it was not to be. Thankfully, it all went gracefully. I thought something was going to happen near the end, but it did not. Of course, I will point out that it is funny. Tonight we had The Vision taking on Dragon Lee, Penta, and Rey Mysterio, and Adam Pearce caught Logan Paul red-handed, but Mysterio taking a page out of his late friend Eddie Guerrero's playbook, cheating to win. And Corey Graves, I want to say something. If you grew up on WWE, and if you're like me, you enjoy the double standards on commentary. I really love when heelish commentators throw a fit when the babyface cheats, although the heelish person is known for cheating all the time. But when the babyface gives the heel a taste of their own medicine, the heel commentator will have a fit. Gorilla it was Jesse the Body Ventura used to do it in the late 80s. Bobby the Brain Heenan did it in the early 90s. Then Jerry Lawler took over in the 90s and early 2000s. Then JBL did it in the mid 2000s on commentary. And now, in some way, Corey Graves, who I consider to be somewhat of a heel sympathizer on commentary, does the same thing where they try to rebuke the babyface when they cheat, but it's a little bit double standard, and I find that very entertaining when they do that. But nonetheless, a pretty interesting episode of WWE Raw on Netflix from Ireland. What did you think about tonight's episode? I'm your host, Daniel Cody. That's all the time I have for you today, and I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. By the way, before I go, wish me luck because I am in the middle of playing WWE 2K25. And before I went to Raw on Netflix, I was struggling for 45 minutes straight to defeat Stone Cold Steve Austin on the Anoa'i showcase of No Mercy 2000. So you guys pray for me that I finally get it done because I am struggling with some of those parts. I'm on the Rikishi versus Stone Cold, and that's a bit of a struggle, but I'm sure I'm going to get through it. Have a great day, everyone. Pray for me.